Now, here we go, having some fun. Creepy pervert Greg Doyle of the Indy Star uses this opportunity of Congress's announcement to attack Caitlin Clark fans. Now, why, you ask, do I call him a creepy pervert? Well, this is his opportunity to lash out at all of you because he was rejected by Caitlin Clark. If you all remember, there was a gentleman back in well, I think it was all the way back to when she was drafted with the I can't remember what he said. I probably wouldn't repeat it anyway. Who asked a, shall we say, inappropriate question of Caitlin Clark to the point of where he got himself suspended. Let's take a quick look for a reminder for all of you. Greg Doyle suspended, banned from Fever games for awkward Caitlin Clark exchange. Now, we don't really have to go into too many more details. I just wanted to remind you of this to understand the source of this article that we are going to discuss. It is this man right here, Greg Doyle himself. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for being here. Truly appreciate all of your support. Hope you all are having a fantastic day. Of course, shout out to the 19. It is Friday. I think hopefully this is it's been one of those weeks. What can I tell you? Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, support the channel. I truly appreciate all of your help. Let's dig in. So, Greg made this announcement. As you can see, he is a little bitter. Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever don't want help from Congress or from any of the rest of you trolls. And that would be Caitlin Clark fans, by the way. This is not an endorsement. Mountain Dew, if you would like this to be an endorsement, please pick up the phone, give me a call. So again, keep in mind where this is coming from. He then thought he would tweet out later in the latest battle of the Caitlin Clark culture wars, politicians are no better than social media trolls. They're just using her and she's getting tired of it. Now, from what I have seen, it is people like Greg who are using her, who are attacking all these Caitlin Clark fans who so desperately just want to enjoy her hooping like they did when she was in college, but they get thwarted at every single turn because the WNBA from Kathy Engelbert all the way down to players and apparently medical staff and coaches as well, they simply don't want it to happen. It is interesting in this other one where he says Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever don't want help from Congress. Well, Greg, here's the thing. The Indiana Fever will be investigated because they are part of the problem. Now, let me say this, and I think I said this in another video, just me personally, I think Big G is involved in way too many things. And I think we've gone so far into that. There's so many things that are so obvious they're not supposed to be involved in that everyone, left and right, accept it as something they're supposed to be doing. Do I, in an ideal world, want them involved? No. But based on where we are and the laws in place, it is a lie, if not, at best disingenuous, to say they don't have a role and they shouldn't be involved and they're making it about politics when we have a civil rights division at the Department of Justice and we have a whole lot of laws involving the workplace and things like unsafe workplaces and unsafe or hostile work environments, which I think any decent human being with an IQ above that of a rock can see that we have that with Caitlin Clark. So let's get into this nonsense just a little bit. With politicians involved, Caitlin Clark culture wars have spun out of control. It sounds to me, Greg, like you might be worried that they find something, that they punish the Indiana Fever, that they punish media like yourself, that they punish the WNBA. How is it a culture war when you have a issue that everyone can see has a problem with unsafe work environment, a hostile work environment that is far above and beyond that of what you typically get in sports with rivalries and that sort of thing. So it sounds like maybe, Greg, you're a little bit worried because there will be things that will be found, just like the WNBA has been terrified of having all these basketball fans to shine light as a disinfectant on what they have been to this point, which is a lot of humping, very little hooping, a whole bunch of little parties at games with the NBA footing the bill, never actually been about basketball. Now, actual basketball fans are trying to pull it kicking and screaming into being a professional sports league, and they are resisting at every turn. Now that the politicians are involved, joining trolls. So keep that in mind. The millions of Caitlin Clark fans are all just trolls. Because guess what? Regular Caitlin Clark fans, and I've said this many times before, left and right, are tired of all this stuff. Now, they may all differ as to whether this should be happening, but they're all in agreement about how Caitlin Clark is treated, and they don't like it. Not sure where you're getting the misguided media because the media has been anti Caitlin Clark through and through. Not sure who it is you're going after there. Now, 11 congresspeople came to the Indiana Fever Guards rescue being in parentheses. It's not about rescuing Caitlin Clark, actually. It's about legitimate violations of the law and of Caitlin Clark's civil rights. By writing a letter to WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert, a letter full of lies. Like, you're such a I'm sorry. I hope that did that come out loud. Maybe you didn't hear it. Hopefully you didn't. Threats and loaded language on Clark's behalf. Keep that loaded language part up here in your head. The letter, a plea to protect Clark from fouls like one from Alyssa Thomas 2 weeks earlier, references thug like violence, which we've seen, and threatens Department of Justice involvement. Again, Civil Rights Division. And we also have laws in place against hostile work environments and unsafe work environments. So, not sure what you said. Politicians don't care about Caitlin Clark. They're using her to win their next election. And Clark says she's tired of people using my names in ways that are inappropriate, like Greg, like the way Greg Doyle does, like the way Greg Doyle is doing right now. Now that the politicians have gotten involved doing much of the talking and none of the listening, what does that even mean? They made an announcement about a possible investigation. If there's an investigation, the people doing the investigating will be doing some listening. Where it goes, the culture war's out of control. Where it goes next, this is me shuddering to think. Sweet mother, all that is good and pure. Of course, he points out that all the Congress people are Republicans. I think many are in, correct me if I'm wrong, at least a few are in Indy, which probably makes sense on that behalf. I'd actually, though, then wonder why aren't any Democrats stepping up? They're very big on using the Civil Rights Division of DOJ for investigations. But here we go. Keep that thing in mind I said about loaded language, because he continues basically saying the same thing he did. He repeated himself, but decides to change it a little. Letter to Kathy Engelbert, a letter full of lies and threats and loaded dog whistle language on Clark's behalf. So, as we all know, referring to language as dog whistles is actually the loaded language. It's another variation because they have to change things up because they've overused races so much that nobody cares. Nobody is worried that, oh my God, they called me that. They laugh and mock at this point. So dog whistle has become one of those things to indirectly call you a racist, and it's new, so people hope you are scared of it. So see, when you say something they don't like, oh, well, that's a dog whistle. You didn't say this, but it's what you meant when you said this, even though the two have nothing in common at all. This is very low IQ, you know, Greg's betters have said, hey, this is what you got to do. This is what he got to say. And Greg can just repeat because he doesn't have the intelligence to think things through and reason them out himself. He's just been all, ginned up, as they say, and angered. And he just sees certain things and it's his unthinking reaction to all of them. Concerning reports suggest that many of these attacks against Caitlin Clark may be racially motivated, said the letter. Um, and Greg, of course, says it's elevating social media hatred, lies told by hard right commentators, red meat for an unsophisticated crowd, from outright fiction to concerning reports. Talk about loaded language, as you can see, for Greg. And it's a shame that we have to have this conversation in this way because it's how you divide people, because you will sadly get Caitlin Clark fans who reflexively agree with Greg because they want to reflexively agree with that side. And to be fair, you will get people who don't know this issue as well on the other side who will reflexively agree with, be gung ho about this possible investigation for similar reasons. But I love this because they do it all the time. Red meat for an unsophisticated crowd. In other words, you're stupid. Greg, my man, my little bro. I almost said boy, but my goodness, that would be called a dog whistle, even though I've used that thousands of times to my own white friends. But anyway, my man, I would be happy. I would be happy to compare education resumes with you, my man. I would be happy to do that if you want to talk about unsophisticated. And hey, I even give you the added advantage of the fact that, well, I won't even go there. But just saying, don't call me unsophisticated, my man, because you will not like how that ends. Anyway, here we go, right? Racially motivated violence, thug like violence. We've all seen it. We all know it. But to Greg, oh my goodness, ear splitting those dog whistles. Caitlin Clark, and here we go using Caitlin Clark, who has been nothing but professional about all of this. So they want to use that against her when people try and change the WNBA to protect her. And they say, oh, well, Caitlin didn't want this. Caitlin didn't ask for this. Caitlin doesn't want any part of this. You don't actually know that. We just know Caitlin at 24 is far more mature than anyone else involved in the WNBA. Now, what is wild, he then trashes Caitlin Clark. Again, keep in mind, this is the creepy pervert who was suspended because of his questions to Caitlin Clark when she was drafted. Has she done all she could to stop it from happening? No, if we're being honest. She hasn't done all she could. Well, wait, aren't you just then admitting that it's happening? There are stronger statements she could make. And they say, oh, but she's just 24 and has been swept up in cultural currents beyond her control. So he wants to play both sides of the fence. He wants to try and take the side of, oh, poor little Caitlin, while also throwing Caitlin under the bus because she's not out there solving everything on the list of the WNBA activists. You see, apparently, while he wants to dismiss you all as trolls, it is also Caitlin's job to speak out over and over and over again. Same crappy playbook we have seen all of the time. What these folks, these trolls, and now these politicians don't understand because they're not listening is something Caitlin Clark has tried to make clear. She doesn't want your help. You're not helping. See, again, there it is. Same old stuff. And then he continues trying to paint you all as obsessive. That's actually the next headline. Caitlin Clark obsession is scary. And then he tries to portray normal fandom interactions and, people out there arguing for players and against players and all of that as some sort of creepy obsession, which I think, is something Greg probably knows a lot about. And then we've never seen this kind of support for a player, these kind of attacks against anyone and everyone who stumbles in her vicinity in American sports. Maybe they see it in other countries where soccer stars are worshipped at a level that's sort of scary. That's the worship for Clark these days, sort of scary. No, what is scary is people like yourself, another Caitlin Clark stalker, because in my opinion, if I need to use the word allegedly, I will. That is what you seem to be, which is why you were suspended in the first place for your creepy behavior toward Caitlin Clark. Then, God help us, came the screenshots of Thomas's fist to Clark's neck. Wow. And we've seen a lot when it comes to Caitlin Clark, but not this level of hate of threats directed at Thomas. Not Caitlin Clark, Alyssa Thomas. Greg is using this opportunity to once again make Alyssa Thomas the victim. By the way, he also says she was suspended for a game. That's not true. She was given a flagrant 2 foul upgrade. A suspension is a different thing, but they want to make it sound worse than what it actually was. Now we're being painted as thugs, Thomas told reporters. No, Alyssa Thomas, I'm not painting you as a thug. You are a thug by your actions. I know you hate that idea. The idea of being held accountable for your actions is just alien to you because it's never happened, because you're as protected as it gets in the I was going to say America, but if you're that as protected as it gets in America, you're as protected as it gets in the world. You are the most entitled person in the world when it comes to the victim Olympics, my friend. So I don't want to hear your whining. I don't want to hear your complaining. It's the same old nonsense. And then Indiana Fever distance team from Congress's Caitlin Clark letter. Well, yeah, probably because they're the ones being investigated. Sorry, but you can't lump the Indiana Fever in with Caitlin Clark. The Indiana Fever are part of the problem because when this gets investigated, a lot of things are going to be looked at in terms of what has the Fever done to protect Caitlin Clark. They've spoken out to protect and in favor of those who have attacked Caitlin Clark, but not to protect Caitlin Clark. It's absolutely wild. So I think that is basically what I want to cover for this. And of course, he finishes off with the quote from Caitlin Clark. I think people using my name in ways that are inappropriate is frustrating. You don't know me, you don't know who I am. And he's talking about the politician says, or you as well being the troll, they don't care. Greg, you and I love how you I mean, I give you props for the effort of trying to flip it the way Alyssa Thomas did, and she could because she has the media on her side, but it is you who are using her name in ways that are inappropriate. It is clear by this article that you are using Caitlin Clark to write a far left hit piece. This is purely political. And as someone pointed out in the comments of your post pointing this article, that most of the stuff you write is political. And it's sad because you just cause more problems that way. I don't understand why the Indy Star has you employed at all. You don't own oh you don't give any value whatsoever to the Indy Star. And I'm sure a lot of people actually have turned away from it because of you. I've seen a lot of comments where people are like, well, I'm not paying for this because this is behind a paywall. I'll leave it at that. But so here we go. Things are going to get ramped up as they decide to make this more racially charged and once again play victim when they are actually the problem. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Like, comment, subscribe. Y'all know the drill. I will talk to you later.